We begin tonight with breaking news. 2 people were found dead in a Dothan home this evening.
Around 8 p.m. on November 20th, the Dothan Police Department and Dothan Fire and Rescue responded to the 200 block of 5th Avenue in Southeast Alabama for a report of 2 people being shot. Upon arrival, they would find the bodies of 2 unresponsive young women.
2 people have been found shot dead in the living room of a house on the 200 block of 5th Avenue in Dothan. I'm live right now nearby that crime scene on the corner of Hamilton and 5th. Police tell us that an early investigation is in its preliminary stages. Police tell us it's too early to say if there is a threat to the public. They believe it may have stemmed from an incident inside the house. WDHN has asked about any information about an additional suspect or suspects. They tell us it is still too early to tell. Police also say they don't know how long ago it happened. Like I've said, it is just the early stages of this investigation. Since I've been out here, I've seen police officers knocking on doors in the neighborhood, in the community. I've seen about a dozen cop cars coming and going.
The victims were identified as 20-year-old mother Jasmine Danielle Bean and 21-year-old Jalexis Lashon Wells, both of Dothan. Sadly, both women were pronounced dead at the scene. Neither of the women lived at the home, and an investigation revealed there may have been a gathering of several people when the shooting took place. When police arrived, they would only find the bodies of the 2 women, which had been discovered inside of the living room area. Everyone else who was at the home during the time of the shooting were nowhere to be found. Police do not believe either of the women were responsible for the gunshots and began working the case as a double homicide. Initially, there were no additional details regarding a suspect or a motive, and police were very limited on their release of information. According to an updated press release, Dothan police identified a juvenile suspect whose name was not initially released to the public. Due to Alabama's juvenile privacy laws, they typically do not allow the release of juvenile information. However, the courts issued an order allowing the suspect's information to be released to the public due to public safety. The suspect was identified as 14-year-old Vincent Lamar Oliver, who was wanted for 2 counts of capital murder in relation to the shooting. Police added that Oliver has active juvenile pickup orders for first-degree attempted assault and 1 count of discharging a firearm into an occupied vehicle, both of which occurred in July of this year. The juvenile could be seen in several social media posts, toting several handguns and referencing several gang affiliations. It was unclear whether the July incident was related to the killings or whether the victims and the suspect knew each other. In a Facebook post, a friend of Jasmine Danielle Bean said the 2 women were simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. A day after the murders, he was detained at the Southeast Alabama Diversion Center on 2 counts of capital murder. Under Alabama law, those convicted of juvenile capital murder could face life in prison without parole.
14-year-old boy may be charged as an adult for a double murder. Vincent Oliver Jr. at the Southeast Alabama Diversion Center this hour facing capital murder charges. Dothan police say he shot 2 women Sunday night. This happened at a home on 5th Avenue, not far from Dothan City Cemetery. Police suspect there was a group of people at the home at the time of the shooting. The victims, 21-year-old Jasmine Bean and 20-year-old Jalexis Wells, were from Dothan. Now, this isn't Oliver's first run-in with the law. He also faces charges for attempted assault and shooting a gun into someone's vehicle. Alabama law bars us from releasing information about teens involved in crimes, but in this case, a judge made an allowance because catching Oliver was a matter of public safety.
A close friend of Jasmine's, who spoke with her a few hours before her untimely death, says the 2 had a close bond since middle school and that he made a promise to be a support system for her, her mother, and her baby girl, who she sadly leaves behind. He goes on to describe the last conversation that he and Jasmine had, where she eerily expressed feeling as if her time was coming, but not knowing when.
David Campbell's heart was torn into pieces after finding out the news from social media and phone calls that his ex-girlfriend from middle school, Jasmine Danielle Bean, was killed Sunday night.
When I seen the pictures, it crushed me. Like, I couldn't do nothing. I dropped my phone and I just started crying. I laid on the couch and I was crying. And if I'm hurting this way now, how I would feel when I see her laying in a casket.
Bean, along with Jalexis Wells, were found dead in a home on 5th Avenue after the Dothan Police Department responded to a shooting where they believe many gathered to hang out. Campbell says he had a brief conversation with Bean about 10 hours prior to the tragedy. He says they had a bit of an unusual conversation where he says she expressed to him about life being rough and trying to change for the better.
Her exact words to me were exactly what she told me was, she said, I feel like my time coming. She said she just didn't know when. And she said that all she wanted to do was make her mom and make her daughter proud. Because like I mentioned earlier, she was changing.
Campbell says Jasmine stayed to herself and tried to avoid any drama, even though it tends to try to find her. She was a sweet and caring person who always had her arms open for people to come and talk to about their problems. He says he and Bean have a special bond that dates back to middle school, and although they are no longer together, he made a promise to always be a part of her support system for her, her mother, and her daughter Azalea, who she leaves behind.
She was a young mother that was trying to make it out this city. No matter what we went through, we can fall off, argue with each other, break apart, but I'll always be there for Azalea if we couldn't have a friendship. Azalea's gonna have everything she needs plus everything she wants.
Campbell said justice will be served for Jasmine, and he's glad to see those who truly knew and loved her, keeping her spirits alive during a difficult time for all involved. No additional information is being released due to court order restrictions. As of right now, there is still no motive in the shootings. The case remains ongoing.